Several recent issues affecting the SMSF sector have highlighted the need and the value of receiving specialist advice. Peter Burgess from the SMSF Association has been good enough to join me to discuss this topic. Welcome, Peter.
Thanks, Darren. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you with us this afternoon. And let's start with the biggest issue that's been affecting our lives for the last 18 months, COVID-19. Now, the coronavirus has temporarily changed the compliance landscape for SMSFs. What are some of the measures that require additional focus for SMSF trustees?
Yeah, there has been a number of COVID relief measures made available to self-managed super fund trustees, and given the lockdowns that we've seen during the course of this current income year, a lot of these measures have now, of course, been extended to the end of this income year. And I have to say, I think the ATO has done a really good job in moving very quickly to make this relief available to SMSF trustees, but also identifying, the hot spots, the pain points, if you like, as to where the relief is most likely to be needed. So if you look at some of the specific areas, residency rules, so where the trustees are overseas, have been stranded overseas, haven't been able to get home because of COVID-19, and they've gone over that 2-year rule. The ATO has announced that they won't be taking any compliance action in situations where they haven't been able to come home because of COVID. So otherwise, there could potentially be a breach of the central management control test. So that's one thing. Rent relief is another one. So where the SMSF owns property, it could be a commercial property, for example, that's being leased to a business that's had experienced some lockdowns. So it may have been financially impacted by that and not able to pay rent. In those situations, the SMSF trustees are able to provide rent relief. Of course, the various state and territory governments have provided some support measures there. So whatever rent relief is provided, it's important that the SMSF trustees make sure that it is consistent with the support measures that have been announced by the relevant state and territory governments. And also important that they document that. So very important that they're able to show that whatever arrangements they've put in place are on commercial arm's length terms, and it's been appropriately documented. The other one that's we've seen is, of course, loan repayment relief. So this may apply in situations where the self-managed super fund may have a limited recourse borrowing arrangement in place, perhaps to related party as a lender. So in these situations, there can be some loan repayment relief granted, but again, very important that it's consistent with what commercial banks are providing, and that these arrangements are properly documented. As we start to see the economy open up, fingers crossed, we do expect these relief measures to be wound back. So the various support measures that have been announced by the state and territory governments will start to get wound back, and the relief measures offered by the commercial banks will also start to get wound back. So it's going to be really important that SMSF trustees adjust their own arrangements to make sure they remain, on commercial arm's length terms. The other one that is relevant to SMSFs, of course, are the in-house asset concessions. So where on the 30th of June last year, the fund may have been in breach of the 5% rule, then there'll be no compliance action taken. There's still a requirement to put in place a plan, of course, to get below the 5%, but there are some concessions around, the action that the ATO will take in relation to in-house asset breaches. So that's another one for practitioners and trustees to be aware of.
So among all those myriad of things that SMSF trustees have to consider, are there some really specific areas where specialist advice can really make a difference?
Yeah, look, I think if you look at some of those measures that I just referred to, where the SMSF owns property, commercial property, for example, where the tenant has experienced some lockdowns and so therefore may have encountered some financial issues, that's a situation where the trustees may be providing some rental relief. So that's one that advice providers really do need to be looking out for, that the trustees are aware as to what rent relief can be provided to those tenants. And also, very importantly, as I keep saying, making sure that whatever arrangements they do put in place are properly documented.
So if there was one specific message or one specific thing that advisors should really try and home in on, what would it be?
Look, I think documentation, I keep coming back to that. I don't think we can overemphasize how important it is to ensure that the documentation, that they do have proper documentation so that they can show that the relief is being provided as a consequence of COVID-19 and also that it is on commercial arm's length terms. So certainly auditors will be wanting to see it. So it's really important that they have, these arrangements properly documented.
Now, on a separate but slightly related matter, COVID-19 has caused us to live in fairly uncertain times, and sometimes that leads to enhanced criminal behaviour. And we've seen a little bit of reportage about investment scams and cybercrime recently, and it influencing the SMSF sector. What role can specialist advisors play in consumer protection as far as these scams go?
Yeah, look, cyber security is such a big issue for this industry, and the increasing instance of cyber fraud is a real risk to this industry. But I think for advisors, it's certainly helping their clients to identify scams. Working with clients, educating them on how to identify scams, and also what to do if they believe that they are a victim of one of these scams. There are certain things that clients can do in those situations. In recent times, we've issued a fact sheet for advisors, just going through some, 4 key tips that they can pass on to their clients around scams, how to identify scams, what to do if they believe they're a victim, and some of the things that they can do themselves to protect themselves against some of these scams. And so forth. So, advisors, I think, play a really important role here, to be able to, help their clients to identify these scams and what to do if they feel they are a victim.
Now, unfortunately, Peter, there are situations where individuals are falsely claiming to be advisors to try and scam money out of victims. What are some of the safeguards against this, and can the SMSF Association play a role in combating this?
Well, certainly if clients are being approached by individuals purporting to be a financial advisor, whether they should check the FAS, so ASIC's Financial Advice Register, just to make sure that they are registered as a financial advisor. If they're providing self-managed super fund advice, we'll then check the SMSF Association's website to ensure they are a specialist SMSF advisor and have those competencies. But the association, we really see our role here as raising awareness, encouraging conversation, and promoting diligence when it comes around scams. As I said before, we've recently issued a fact sheet to try and help clients around scams. So this was a fact sheet that advisors can use to send out to their clients. Has some very useful tips as to how to identify scams, some of the things clients can be doing to protect themselves against scams, and also what they should do if they feel they have become a victim of one of these scams. We've recently released a new webpage. So on this webpage, we provide information about how to spot scams. So again, this is a webpage for SMSF trustees to help them spot scams and also what to do if they believe they are a victim of a scam. There are some examples on that webpage about scams. We provide some good examples there of some of the common scams around. So there's lots of information there available to SMSF trustees to try and educate them on the dangers and risks, and also what to do, as I said, if they believe that they've become a victim of one of these scams.
Now, thankfully, we are starting to emerge out of the COVID-19 lockdowns, which means that some semblance of normality is returning to the industry. And the SMSF Association is hosting its national conference in 2022 as a live, in-person, face-to-face event, the first one in a couple of years. Can you tell us a little bit about what some of the highlights of the program will be in February?
Yeah, look, Darren, we're so excited to be holding a face-to-face event in February, just as excited as our members. The registrations have been very strong. We're expecting over 1,000 delegates to attend our conference in Adelaide next February. And I'm sure I can speak on behalf of all the speakers that we can't wait to get back on stage. and present to a live audience, to an audience that we can see. I've been certainly practicing my dad jokes, getting plenty of encouragement and advice here from the staff of the association. Of course, telling jokes doesn't really work in a virtual setting, but no one used to laugh at my jokes anyway, so it probably didn't matter. But in terms of the program itself, it's a very strong technical program, 27 concurrent sessions, 5 plenaries, 5 workshops. We do have a thought leadership breakfast. We have our first ever symposium on providing retirement income advice, which will be a panel of experts, which will change over the course of the symposium, looking at some of the barriers and issues that advisors face when providing retirement income advice, and looking at some of the opportunities that advisors have got in that space. But as I said, very strong technical program. We don't have as many policy updates on the future of financial advice. We have more technical sessions this year, a very broad range of topics, which is not unexpected given that we've seen lots of changes in the SMSF sector over the last 12 months, which have impacted on just about every aspect of self-managed super funds. So their sessions will be covering a very broad range of topics. So as I said, we are really looking forward to the conference. It's not just about the technical content. We have some fantastic networking events as well. So at the end of day 1 and the end of day 2 and our final day lunch, some great opportunities to catch up with your peers, some fantastic entertainment. So it's a bit of fun as well. So as I said, we can't wait.
Well, you certainly got me enthused about it. If practitioners want to register, how do they go about that?
Yeah, so practitioners can register by visiting our website. So you'll find information on about our conference on our website, and you can also register from our website.
Well, thanks for sharing that with us, Peter. Just to confirm, the SMSF Association National Conference for 2022 will be held in Adelaide between February 16 and February 18. The relevant details are on screen now, so if you want to find out a little bit more about the conference or actually register for it, just follow the links and the prompts on screen now, and that should help you achieve that aim. Look, thanks again for your time today, Peter. It was a pleasure chatting to you, and I look forward to seeing you in Adelaide in February.
Pleasure, Darren. I'm looking forward to it.